The STLHD Nation Podcast is back. We are back from ICAST. ICAST Recap 2023.
Yes, I learned that I hate Florida.
Wow. I don't know how you people live there. That was brutal. That was the most uncomfortable I've been for like an extended period of time ever in my life.
Like,
And that was worse than like 2 days in August in Northern California when I was playing high school football.
that's because in Florida we had to swim to our car every day. I've never felt air that was like so humid it was physically heavy and thick.
Yeah. I tried to run one morning and it felt like I was breathing soup. Adam had the best analogies. It's like, it's hot outside and then you go inside and you put on half wet clothes from your dryer that are
Yes.
warm and wet and put them on and go outside. But it feels like that all day.
All the time. It constantly feels like you're wearing clothes that were taken out of the dryer 10 minutes too early. And the fact that you sweat. Like, I couldn't walk from...
I've never sweated that much.
No. You just, like, I feel like I've
never sweated that much in my life doing nothing.
Yes. Like, we would sit on the porch, the balcony of our hotel room at night.
And sweat.
And to have beers, and you would just be, like, running. That place is insane.
You have to drink like 500 beers because you're just sweating them out over and over and over again.
I've never wanted cheap, watery beer so much in my entire life because it was liquid.
Yeah.
It was water to sweat through.
But ICAST was super fun. What an interesting experience. We met tons of cool people.
Yeah, from all over the place.
From all over the place. We met all kinds of cool people, like social media people, business people, other people who own businesses. Got to see all the guys that like I grew up watching on TNN Outdoors.
Yes.
We were standing in our booth and Jimmy Houston and Roland Martin go walking by together and you're like, holy crap.
They were like back to back on TV probably too. So
Yeah.
It was almost like deja vu.
Yeah, super weird. But it was really cool. There's a bunch of people who were there who I didn't see too. Like I was companies wise.
Yeah.
Like there was people who were there that I'm seeing on Instagram. They're like, we had our booth at ICAST. I'm like, I walked the whole thing 17 times and I never saw you.
It was so overwhelming though.
It's very overwhelming.
It's like there were like 600 companies there, I think. Is that what I saw? 600 companies there. And everything from, some of those big companies have booths that look like a town. They look like some future anime town because everything is lit and everything is TV screens and bright lights everywhere and like some futuristic craziness down to just like a little tiny 10 by 10 booth with a sign hung on the back. Yeah, we were how much past that.
Yeah. No, but we got stuck way out in the back corner.
We were in the land of misfit toys for
100%. And so it was kind of hard to find us. But that's what you get when, it was our first time doing it. We don't know what we were doing. To be honest, we were just like, let's go, see how it goes. But we made some good contacts and we saw some cool stuff.
What was your biggest surprise at that place?
I was surprised at how much money goes into building out these massive trade show displays for a relatively short event. Because really, I think it was 2 days, basically.
Yeah, 2.5 days.
The third day was nothing. And so you build this massive thing that costs you, with the booth space rent, probably $100,000.
Oh, I bet some of those things were like $250,000.
And you have this massive thing that I'm sure, companies like Daiwa, they're taking that thing to like
everywhere,
multiple shows a year, right? However, some of those people were putting out serious dough for a booth and in space that at a show that is only an industry show. And you have hotel, you have 7 people there. Some Costa had like music every night, plus a free bar that they were paying for. Like,
well, and everything there is a racket. You can't bring in a bartender and serve alcohol. You have to
pay the companies,
their stuff at their cost, pay their people to be there.
But what was surprising to me is like, we're all in this. We know what's going on. We know how it. If you're just a consumer, but if you're not in the business, and you walk into something like that, you're like, wow, impressive. This is insane. Oh, I'm going to go in and have this immersive brand experience. This is super cool. And then you leave and you got your discount on a pair of glasses, let's say, right? You're going to go home and be like, that experience was so cool. I met so many cool people there. I'm going to use this discount code and buy a pair of glasses, and now I'm a customer for life, right? But if you're in the industry and you understand what goes into it, you saw them put it together, you saw all the stuff, which most people there were. Most people there work for another company in the fishing space.
Oh, yeah. It's an industry show. Like,
yeah, most of the people there are not captains, boat captains, or, that type of thing. Yeah. So most of the people there are looking at it and they're like, yeah, X company, your trade show booth was beautiful, amazing. Got to see all kinds of new stuff that's not coming out for a year. You gave me $500 in free booze. Wonderful. I'm not bought into your company. You know what I mean? That was what was surprising me, because I think there was companies like Turtle Box, let's say, who had a really cool, modest trade show booth. I mean, it was not ridiculous. Marshware was another one. They had
cooler NARS.
Yeah.
But also not insane.
And I think they got a lot of the same things out of it for way less effort, money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt bloated. That's what was surprising to me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. I think all of that stuff is for the 5 giant buyers who you really care about, whose company is going to buy $1 million worth of rods from you.
And what do I know? I run a little podunk company out of the Northwest, right?
But I'm just saying, I think that's what that's for.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. I mean, it's there. It impresses you. It impresses me. It impresses every charter.
Oh, it's impressive.
It's impressive. But what they really care about is impressing the buyer from Bass Pro.
Yeah.
Because that's where that is. And if they can write 5 gigantic orders or get on, 5 giant, then it's all worth it, And if, that's so they're really putting all that up for 5 people.
I was also surprised at how Gulf Coast salt oriented the whole thing was, because I know it's in that region, so okay, but it's a worldwide event. Like, everybody come here, and it's supposed to encompass fishing, not offshore, not bass specifically, not all of these things. Now, some of these components of fishing are much larger than the other components, but I just thought it was so weird that there wasn't a whole ton of representation at ICAST from, like, really, I wouldn't even, I would just say, like, the northern hemisphere. You know what I mean?
I think the underrepresentation certainly was the Northwest or West Coast.
I would say even like Great Lakes and Upper Northeast. Like, there wasn't any like, come on my New Hampshire fishing charter places. You know what I mean?
Well, but when walking, there was a bunch of ice fishing stuff, and there's ice fishing hut things. There's quite a few walleye tackle things. So a bunch of smallmouth stuff. But there was like 0 salmon and steelhead stuff.
Yeah, there was Yakima bait, lamb of glass, us.
Yeah, and edge rods, but
yeah,
but really like very little in the way of Northwest companies.
Yeah,
that was one that I was like, wow, there is so little in the way of North.
And no, listen, you're right. There was stuff there, but in comparison to everything else, it was like a fraction.
Yes. Yes. If you were talking like ABC tier, like when you got to the Northwest, it was like Z tier.
100%.
Nothing. There was more boot manufacturers than manufacturers from the Northwest. There was more glove made. There was probably more people selling bandanas or towels.
Yeah.
There was way more companies from China that would make you a crazy $3 minnow net than there was companies that had anything to do with the Northwest.
100%.
So that was an interesting thing to me. Yeah, I was most surprised about the rods. First of all,
so many rod companies.
There are 11 billion rod companies apparently that I've never heard of.
Yep.
And many of them are making incredibly cool rods.
Yeah.
And even companies, I will say, dude, Akuma.
Yep.
When I went over there, I was like, I haven't dealt with them in a long time. I was like, wow, dude, the amount they've upped their game, and the quality of what across the board. There was just the rod company thing, very crowded space.
Yeah,
and it does seem that everyone has really driven their game up to try and compete. And I was like, wow, dude.
Yeah,
there was some really cool. There were some really cool rods.
Yep. I think that, you know, even if you just look like in the last 20 years, not to get too deep into the world of rods, but in the last 20 years, what they can do technologically from a manufacturing perspective faster and cheaper than what they could do 20 years ago.
Oh, 100%.
It's a whole different
the advancements
world.
in materials and all of that.
Yeah.
I just, you know, which
opens up on the ability.
Right. The crowdedness of the space.
Yeah.
Like I thought clothing was a crowded space, but holy cow, man, rods are a crowded space.
Yep.
And then on top of that, the sort of, the level of quality from everyone you would see was very high. It seemed. Yeah. Now, I didn't fish them, and I don't know if they all break in 10 seconds or whatever. But the perceived level of quality, the high-end components, and the kind of innovative colors, the way they were designing things, it was cool. I was like, wow, dude, this is really, it just struck me as very impressive.
Cool glass rods, too.
Yeah.
Did you stop and look at the Lamiglass new glass? I think it's called Battle Glass or something like that.
I did go to the Lamb.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And they got some cleanup to do in the Northwest, but in the Great Lakes and Northeast, they still have really good representation, or I should say reputation. And there was Bull Bay, that guy.
They had really cool stuff.
Yep.
Bay.
Very cool rods.
Very cool rods. All bass rods and saltwater rods.
Yeah.
No salmon rods.
But there was a bunch of smaller companies that sold, accessible combos that were just, if you were like a bass angler from Tennessee and you're like a casual bass guy, and you weren't doing tournaments or anything like that, you walked in, you saw some of these rods, just like aesthetically, these companies are doing a really good job of creating something that you go, whoa, that's cool. And it doesn't look like a piece of junk, Yeah. My perception of it just from picking it up, you're like, wow. And it's affordable? Amazing.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It was really cool from an apparel standpoint to see a couple things. One, some of the companies that started like when we started and are kicking ass, like they're doing really, really well and doing some really cool new things from the apparel standpoint. That was cool to see. It was also cool to see how different we are from everybody else.
Yes, we were definitely the purple cow.
I think you could take every single apparel company in that place and put them on a rack and then put our like product on the rack, and it would look like a red dot on a page of blue dots.
Yeah. Yeah. We were purple cow. We were just the most
everybody else's stuff looked so similar that you could almost, and there was stuff at the big company racks that looked like the stuff on the 10x10 rack 2 spaces behind us.
100%.
Like it was the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was especially when we looked at technical apparel. Like sun shirts, good Lord. Apparently, first of all, a blue sun shirt is the unofficial uniform of the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And second of all, there are roughly 11,000 companies making blue sun shirts for the state of Florida.
Yeah.
I was just like, good Lord, how many blue sun shirts can you have?
With the sublimated fish on the back.
Yeah, or some fish scales.
Yep. Yeah.
That was a lot.
Yeah. It was a lot. I don't know how you even do anything different in that space.
No, how do you find your niche there? Because it's literally an ocean of blue.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, it just is, you know, it's just like, holy cow, man.
Yeah.
Like that is so much. And
we were just this like beacon of black and orange and stuck in the corner.
Yeah. Black and orange t-shirts and hoodies and hats in the middle of this wall of blue polished shirts.
Yeah. That was interesting to see. It was interesting to see how many people, it was sort of, I don't even know the word. I'm going to use a word like humbling, but I don't think that's the right word. Because you set up and you're like, hey, the booth looks really good. I feel good about, for what we were able to do, this looks good. We got everything set up. And, you know, you do like the Northwest shows and people walk by and they're all like, wow, oh, cool. Well, it's like every third person that walks by is pointing or stops or talks to you or whatever. Down there, you set up and there's just like a line of people walking past you. And there's like tournament anglers and business people and they're all in that blue sun shirt and they're all in flip-flops and shorts, and they're walking by you, and they're like, I don't care about that. Don't care about that. Don't care about, like, they didn't even look. So many people walked by and were just like, that's not for me. That's not for me. That's not for me. Which was like, I was honestly a little shocked because it felt like, whoa, we're in the wrong space. But then the people who did come by, the people from the Great Lakes in the Northeast who were down there, and they came by and they were like, Steelhead Gear's here. Awesome. And they were like excited to meet us, wanted to talk to us about the product. They were like just happy that we were part of ICAST.
I was just going to say, the amount of people that were like, would come into the booth and were like, I saw you guys were at ICAST, and I was so excited to come.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was cool.
That was cool. But you know what I mean? It's just, it was a different thing. We were definitely out of place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we'll do it next year, and we'll do it better because we now know what to do. And I think it'll be a different outcome for sure.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, I'm very bullish on what happened. I actually, it really, to me, was an eye-opening experience about how we're perceived in there. And it was in a good way. I mean, we had people from Texas and Florida that were like, oh, I know your brand. You guys make cool stuff. I mean, Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, the difference between, like, a Pacific Northwest show where everybody knows who you are because it's your backyard. Yeah.
And then you go down there and there was people walking by. They were like, I don't know who you are. I've never heard of you. You know, it was just it was a different thing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people thought STLHD was St. Louis.
St. Louis Harley Davidson.
Yeah. Or St. Louis High Definition or something.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't put it together. What is STL St. Louis or St. Louis something? Yep. Yeah, but there was also guys from Texas who were like, oh my God, dude, I've seen your brand. I can't believe you're here. That's so cool. Or guys from Florida that were like, I know about you guys. You know, that's
the
really cool.
Rod guy.
Old Bay Rod guy who was an awesome dude. Yeah, you know, just like, hey, I know about you guys.
Yeah.
What a cool thing to see you here. And you know, we brought a bunch of stuff that we haven't made yet. And there were certain items that people were just like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yes.
Diane.
Yeah.
And that was cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a very different experience from previous trade show experiences I've had because all of them have been local.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
To get on a plane and fly to the exact opposite corner of the country. Like I would say that, like if you were to go from Oregon to Maine, you're still sort of in the same. You're on the same line.
Similarities.
Yeah, but you go to Orlando, Florida. That is it's a jungle.
Well, dude, not only that, but like everything in Florida is the exact opposite of Oregon.
100%.
The politics are the opposite of Oregon.
Yeah, the building, the architecture.
Building styles, the way, like just the general population,
everything,
makeup, like everything is exactly opposite of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the polar opposite of Oregon.
Yep.
Good and bad, all the things, whatever you feel. It's just the most opposite of Oregon place you could go.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if you're talking about that, if like, what was it? Who was that company that was down the way from us that had the steel drum scales?
Oh yeah.
You take that company, you have them set up at the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show.
Yeah.
They're going to feel like we did.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some people who travel to go do, tropical fishing stuff.
That would go, I love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the most part, people will be like, what is this?
But that just goes back to what I was saying. Like ICAST, I thought my perception of it is that it was a more inclusive event, but it is very like offshore.
Well, it's inclusive, but it just definitely, that's who's there.
That's who's there.
That's who chooses to go. And there's a lot of money in that too. And that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, when you're selling.
Well, you know what? The boats that were lined up out front that were like, come to ICAST, were these big, giant offshore boats.
Yeah, big 32-foot offshore boats.
Yeah.
Triple 300s on them.
But there wasn't, I didn't even see Ranger boats there.
No,
Icon was there.
Was there behind us.
Skeeter wasn't there that I saw.
There was some other ones on the other side. I don't remember who they were. But yeah, I mean, it's 100% is very saltwater.
Yeah.
Slanted towards saltwater.
Yeah.
It just is, I think it's open to anyone. But dude, who has all the money? The guys that sell. What'd that guy tell us that was next to us? The battery guy. Super cool guy to talk to.
Yeah, I forget his name.
He's like, yeah, my boss has got one of those. He's got a 42-foot whatever with 4 300s on it.
Yeah.
For running off to fish. And he was like, as a $1.4 million boat, it's $30,000 a year for insurance. And every time he fills it up to go fishing, he burns $3,000 of fuel.
What?
You're just like, wow, dude, I don't even know what to say about that. But good for him.
You know what's cool, though, is the dude who was across the way from us.
Trailer guy?
Yeah, I just talked to him last night. What the heck was his name?
That guy was cool.
John.
I like that guy.
John Robinson. And he was like, he texted me a couple times because we gave him a hat and he went fishing with his son.
Did you get some pictures?
He got some pictures, yeah. And he was like, dude, my son saw the hat and was like, I know those guys. And so we sent his son some stuff. But this guy's a bass fishing guide.
In Florida.
No, Georgia.
Sorry, Georgia. Right across the line, yep.
And his kid's like, oh yeah, those guys are cool. Did you say Florida, Georgia line?
Right across the Florida-Georgia line.
Yeah. Please don't. Please do not. Hey, it's not funny.
It's not a joke. Some things you don't joke about, and that's one of them.
Anyway, he was a cool dude. And he is like thick in that bass world and has never even fished in Northwest, at least if I remember what he was saying correctly. Yeah. The farthest he said he's gone was Arizona.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Because his kid's never been there.
No, there was a lot of moments like that at ICAST that I thought were cool.
Yeah.
It was,
What were you most surprised about?
The rods. Just the amount of rods and just how crowded that space is. Mm-hmm. And just like I say, the high quality of what generally you saw and how that was like sort of seemed to be pushing up the quality across the board to that amount of competition. But also then like that there is even close to that much space in that market.
I know, right?
It's unbelievable.
Because it's dominated by the big. dogs.
Yeah, and everybody across the board, like you could walk 20 feet away where Edge Rods was, and you could look at and they're beautiful rods, beautiful finishes, cool,
Yeah, they don't even sell wholesale.
And they don't even sell wholesale.
They were just really pushing their blanks.
But I'm just saying, cool. So you go over there and you're like, wow, that's amazing. And you could walk to Lamaglass like you did, and go, oh, look at all this cool stuff. I went down to Akuma and talked to Ryan, and I was like,
Fenwick.
Yeah, it didn't matter where you went. Over to Bull Bay, that guy's rods were sweet, but there was 50 others too. I was just like, everywhere you look, there's 5 more rod companies on this aisle. 5.
And there were some companies that I had heard of, and I knew were big, but I didn't know were big enough to drop the coin that they dropped.
Oh yeah,
like, woo! Some of those companies, I was just like, you put some money into this.
Yeah.
Like, I knew you were a big company, but I didn't know you were that big.
Well, there was companies there that you and I know are not any bigger than us that dropped so much coin.
That's true.
On their thing, where I was like, wow, dude. Like, how do you drop, like, I know what our revenue is, and you know that their revenue is very similar to ours. And you're like, how did you drop on a 40 by 50 booth? Holy cow, dude.
Might be the last time they do it.
I was just like, wow, man, this is such a big part of your marketing.
Yeah.
And it just is a different thing, because we obviously have marketed for a long time online.
Yeah.
You always have.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, you do a lot of your marketing here. This is a big portion of your marketing budget.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, we could pull back on digital marketing and spend money on that, I don't know that would be smart, but yeah, it was very interesting, really eye-opening. We're going to do it very different next year. Very different. And next year, I'm going to really early on reach out to people and say, hey, come to ICAST, get down here. We have passes. We can get people to come that would be interested in coming, which would be kind of cool to do for some folks. Hey, you want to go to ICAST?
Take your family to Disneyland.
We'll get you the pass,
Yeah.
That would be cool. We got on the plane, and the addicted guys were sitting behind us, which is kind of cool. And then Kiana, who's the daughter of a guy who used to run Brad's, was the stewardess. Jared from Yakima Bait was on the same flight.
Yep. One of our customers sat next to us.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Sent us pictures while we were there of all the big bass he and his kids caught.
Yeah, that was cool. It was cool. There's all kinds of people that we didn't expect to see there that were there. What was the most impressive booth that you saw?
I don't know, man. It's hard to beat Costa. The 2-story thing, that you can actually walk upstairs and just when you're there, I'm just like, dude, the engineering it takes to just pop up a 2-story building that's functional, that you people just walk up the stairs and go upstairs in the middle of a hall.
It's pretty smart though, because it's tall, so you can't miss it. So when you're walking around the booth, you see it.
Yeah.
So they don't have to buy one of those things that hangs from the air. And it's smaller, so they're not taking up as big of a footprint.
Yeah.
So they come in and they build this thing that's super tall. Everyone can see it. It has Costa all over the sides of it. And then it only takes up a small footprint compared to Gamakatsu hooks, who had geez Louise, dude, this thing was massive.
Oh, dude, it must have been 60 by 60.
Yeah, for hooks. They had this huge display thing that went way up in the sky, up and over huge white
blue
wall,
and giant white
to hold
walls,
4 bags of hooks.
A lot of rows of 4 bags of hooks, but yeah,
still, it was just ridiculous.
And again, to me, from the building perspective, the fact that you could build a 2-story building just in 2 days and have it done, and sitting there that you could functionally walk up, I was like, that's amazing.
You know what the most interesting thing to me was PFG. They had this giant, huge screen playing on whatever video they were playing. Massive, white wall that had PFG all over it. and then like these freestanding sort of front back mannequin things with lights that had whatever products they were featuring, but there was only like 4 of them.
Yeah.
They didn't have a ton of stuff.
It was lean.
Yeah.
It was all about the lights and the branding.
But it was massive.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess, but there was only 13,000 people there.
Yeah, that was the other thing that kind of struck me is you're like, wow, dude, all of this for 13, and that includes the people that were there like us and paid to go set up a booth.
That's what I'm saying. So how many of those people, if each place had 2 people and there's 6, so there's 1,200 people minimum.
Well, but in a lot of those places, that's 7.
That's what I'm saying. So there's probably 2,000 of that 13,000 people.
Minimum. Yeah, I would bet you 5,000 out of 13,000 people working the show.
Work the show.
There might be, 8,000.
And then how many of those people were brought there by those companies to come see this stuff? That just, to put that in perspective, we're going to sponsor the Canby Rodeo for way less money than that booth even costs to get in front of.
And 20,000 people go through there.
Through that week.
In that week, yeah. Yeah, that's what's right. You go to the sportsman show here, and I know it's different because it's a consumer show and not a industry show.
What did you say, 60,000 people?
A day? Something like that? I don't know.
No, I think it was in total, but still.
No, he said their number one they've ever hit was almost 150,000.
In one day?
No, in total.
Oh.
So if you're doing 150,000 in a 4
I don't know what math is.
I'm just saying, in 4 days, that's almost 40,000 a day.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know.
And their peak days are, I don't know, man. But point is, like, you just look at that and you're like, wow, dude.
It was a lot.
Even on a conservative side of things, you probably have 4 to 6 times more people go through the sportsman show here than you have there. It's just,
and nobody puts up a booth like that.
And no one puts up a 60 by 60.
Like Stevens Marine does an entire hall, right?
Yeah,
but who knows what sort of deal they're getting, what I mean?
Yeah, and it's not like
that. And it's not impressive. It's just a row of boats.
Yeah, that place was insane. And, dude, like, boats, like, dude, like, what was that? Oh, Minn Kota.
Yeah.
They had all these places. So you walk upstairs.
Cut off.
And they had the fronts of bass boats cut off.
Yeah.
So you could stand in them like you were sitting in a bass boat. And the motors went down to a big tank of water. Yeah. And like you were driving in a bass boat. You walk up the stairs, stand on the front of the bass boat, like 8 feet in the air.
Yeah, it was like you walk up some stairs, and then it was the bow of the boat with a tank of water in front of it.
And the motor down.
The motor just dropped down, and you could do all the controls and look at the screen and do all the things.
See how the water pushed out.
And they had like 4 or 5 of these things.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Well, it was a good time. I'm looking forward to going back. And next year we're going to do it very different. We're going to stay in a very different hotel.
Yes, because that was poopy.
That was the worst.
I don't know. I'd almost go back there to meet our new friend.
Yeah, we met this lady at the airport.
That was my favorite person I met.
She was so cool. I met her at the airport on the way home. She was like 3 doors down from us the whole time.
We didn't even know it. Same building as us. And
and there's no way that lady was 65 years old.
That's still so crazy. She showed us her passport.
Yeah. Because this woman looked like she was like 40.
She kept talking about like her granddaughter was there. I was 38. And I was like, none of this makes sense. I was like, finally I said, I don't mean to be rude, but how old are you?
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm 65. And I was like, what?
There's no way.
No way. And she was like, yeah, look, here's my...
Nicest lady.
She was the nicest damn lady. We talked to her for an hour.
Gave us a hug.
Yep.
On her way out.
Awesome, man.
What was... I can't remember her name. Something with an M. Anyway.
I don't remember.
Well, we're looking forward to going back next year. Start planning now so that we can do it right. And actually start planning all the shows. Got to get ready for the Sportsman show.
Yeah.
So we can do something weird there.
Well, we've been talking.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed we can make that work.
Yep. Adam's going to do the whole show in a Steelhead Gear Speedo.
Slingshot. I want my nipples covered.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that you don't want to be obscene.
That would be indecent.
Yeah. Borat style.
Yes. Black and orange and set. Well, orange.
Yeah.
Bright orange. Yeah. Little tiny black steelhead right below the...
You got to wear a Zorro mask, too.
Lucha Libre. I'm going Lucha Libre.
That's a good one. Yeah, do that. So that's what you have to look forward to at the Northwest Sportsman Show. See you guys later.